Hello everyone, welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. Thank you so much for joining us. We got a great one for you here today on today's show. Breaking report on Hurricane Michael. Everything you need to know at this time. The FBI director, Christopher Wray, just casually confirmed the White House limited their pathetic little Brett Kavanaugh investigation. Let's take a look at Donald Trump's stupid new column in the USA Today about Medicare For All, which is incredibly, again, stupid and very, very false. Brett Kavanaugh's already wreaking havoc in the Supreme Court. Good job, guys. The Senate is bad, and it has been bad. Your daily reminder. Also, Stephen Miller's third grade teacher roasted him to hell, and yeah, that's our show. So that's pretty cool stuff. But yeah, there's even a lot of stories because we're getting to a lot today, and there's even some I wish we still could have covered, but we don't have all. Unfortunately, we don't have all the time in the world. But first here today, we're going to get you everything you need to know about Michael right now. What began as a blip of news this past weekend, a tropical storm lurking in the Gulf of Mexico, hundreds of miles south of Florida, escalated very quickly on Wednesday into the most powerful hurricane to hit the continental United States in decades. It's made landfall, and it is very bad, very terrifying stuff. So yeah, saying this storm is very special. Han Jing, an associate professor in the Department of Earth and Environment at the Florida International University. It's gone through 3 rapid intensifications in its brief lifetime, she said. Hurricane Michael's sharp increase in strength was due to low barometric pressure, Phil Klotzbach said, who's a research scientist at the Atmospheric Science Department at Colorado University. So pretty much, yeah, this barometric pressure really increased, and so did the speed of the hurricane. The power of the hurricane just increased unprecedentedly 3 times in the last, just in its lifetime, but it's really increased recently. As it's kind of hovered there off the coast of Florida. Hurricane's Michael's sharp increase in strength, again, it's due to the low barometric pressure, and low barometric pressure increases storm intensity. The barometric pressure within Hurricane Michael early Wednesday was just 925 millibars. There have only been half a dozen storms that struck the United States with lower barometric pressure, the most recent being Katrina. So yeah, that is and low barometric pressure, but it's like golf. The lower score, the better it is. But in this case, the better strength it is. It's like the more powerful it is. Yeah, so the only storms stronger than this are Katrina, Andrew, and Camille. Those were just 3 of the 6 that had higher storms, and they're all devastating storms. So yeah, 925 millibars is the status there. So Katrina, Andrew, and Camille are the only ones who seem to have had any kind of a shot, any kind of close shot to coming in comparison. Like this is the category we're talking in types of storm here. So rapid intensification of the storm, which means growing in wind speed by 35 miles per hour over a 24-hour period, was unexpected. That's stuff we just don't know about hurricanes. There's still stuff we don't know about hurricanes, Klotzbach said. While prediction of a storm's path has grown increasingly accurate, and the ability to predict rapid intensification has somewhat lagged, said Dr. Zhang. The strength, that seems pretty important. If the storm is just going to rapidly intensify from like a Category 3 to, a tropical storm to a Category 4, like that's probably something we may want to know. Yeah, so the shear was so high, nobody expected it was going to intensify this rapidly. So also part of the explanation was possibly the warmer than average water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico, which was up some by 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 2 degrees Celsius. 1 to 2 degrees is a big deal. The difference for people who are going to get hit by the storm in Florida between life and death. That's one of the ways that climate change affects storms. So that may be something you want to watch out for, ladies and gentlemen. And then it's New York Times report that features Klotzbach in it. Ends with this little paragraph here. Warmer sea surface temperatures, while subject to natural variations, are consistent with the effects of climate change. So yeah, we're in a great position. All right, next story of the day, Christopher Wray and the FBI. this is what we got going on with them. Christopher Wray and the FBI, and they are up to no good here. So yeah, this is what they got going on. I mean, not really specifically the FBI, but what they've been doing is some pretty sketchy stuff. So the FBI director, he just kind of casually confirmed, testified one day before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, where he admitted his bureau's severely neutered probe into the allegations of Supreme Court Justice Brett, onto the allegations about Supreme Court, whether or not Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh sexually assaulted Christine Blasey Ford and Deborah Ramirez has been limited in scope due to the White House's orders, but Wray insisted this is definitely not a big deal. It's all right, it's okay. Here's the full clip.
Thank you. Director Wray, I want to thank you and the men and women of your agency for the work you do every day. I think I'm the only member of this committee who is also a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and I'd like to talk with you about the Kavanaugh hearings. So I just want to be clear about how the system works. When the FBI was given the direction to do the background investigation as it related to Dr. Ford's allegations, that's an instruction that goes to the FBI from the White House. Is that correct? Not from the Senate?
That's correct.
And when the FBI was directed then to do that investigation as it relates to those specific allegations, was the FBI given full discretion, or was the scope of the investigation limited by the direction you received from the White House?
Well, Senator, I want to be a little bit careful about what I can talk about in this setting.
So I'm clear. I'm not asking you for the content of the investigation.
Understood.
Just the process.
Understood. There are MOUs and other things that go back a ways that govern this, but I think it's important. I would say this: it's important to understand that unlike most investigations, like the sort that you and I and Senator Jones have all been familiar with, traditional criminal investigations, national security investigations, a background investigation is very different. And that is done, our only authority is as requested by the adjudicating agency.
The White House
in this case is the White House.
And I have a lot to cover, and so if we can be as succinct as possible, I appreciate it. And I know there are a lot of details, and I appreciate your point. So in this situation, was your direction limited in scope, or were you given full direct discretion to investigate whatever your agency thought was appropriate to figure out what happened?
I think I would say that our investigation here, our supplemental update to the previous background investigation was limited in scope, and that is consistent with the standard process for such investigations going back quite a long ways.
Yeah, so that was a limited. We know that it's pretty much conclusive now that this is just this has been a limited investigation. So throughout the Kavanaugh investigation, several potential witnesses came forward to claim their offers to speak with the FBI have been explicitly ignored by investigators. A supplemental list of potential witnesses provided by Senate Democrats was largely ignored as well. Notably, Dr. Ford was not interviewed by investigators despite numerous efforts by her lawyers to possibly request an interview with the FBI, including a letter sent directly to Director Wray, who was, if you I don't know, he was talking there. He's director of the FBI now. If you didn't know. Pressed by Harris as to whether a directive limit to the scope of Kavanaugh's investigation was sent by the FBI Security Division by the White House's Office of Security. Sent to the FBI Security Division by the White House Office of Security. Ray's refused to answer outright. I would expect that would be written by communications, but I can't speak here about that. Yeah, that's what he said. So, yeah, that's pretty much what we now know. It's limited, and I think that's definitely something worth holding in the future, in the back part of your mind, if you know what I'm saying, for future events and things like that. So, yeah, now we get to a big story of the day. It is Donald Trump. He wrote an op-ed in the USA Today, so which is fun, for everyone really. Yeah, so he wrote an op-ed about healthcare, which is interesting, because you never really see him talking about it. And I guess his aides figured, so hey, it's a big issue. A lot of people care about it. Why don't you write about it in the only newspaper that's going to want to take it? I mean, like, if Obama wanted to write about healthcare, would he write in the USA Today? I really don't think he would. So throughout the year, we have seen the Democrats across the country uniting around a new legislative proposal that would end Medicare as we know it and take away benefits that seniors had paid for their entire lives. Bum, bum, bum. Like, first of all, I wish Democrats were uniting around Medicare as we know it. Like, I mean, a lot of the base is, but the thing is the senators are not, and that's probably because of the culture in Washington, D.C., which is exactly really how he's going to describe. He's going to pretty much reflect the Washington, D.C. culture, because, like, they're really the only place in the country that does not believe, like, besides deep red areas, that does not believe in this idea of Medicare for All. So, it's honestly called Medicare for All. The Democratic proposal would establish a government-run, single-payer healthcare system, just like we have in literally every other single developed country. We're getting beat, we're losing. That's language Donald Trump should probably be able to understand, right? We're getting beat, we're losing. This is not good, folks. Like, yeah, and we are getting crushed in healthcare, and we're losing on healthcare. Like, we should do something to fix this. And Trump has said, which is interesting in the past, he said, of all the systems, I probably like the single pay, like Australia's healthcare system the best, and they, like all the other developed, like literally all the other developed countries in the world, except from like Switzerland or whatever. I don't think they have a single payer, but I'm not even sure. But like they all have single payer healthcare. Australia has single payer healthcare system. England has, Germany has, whatever. Yeah, and trust me when I say I could go on. As a candidate, I promise that we protect coverage for patients with pre-existing conditions and create new health insurance options that will lower premiums. I've kept that promise. Now we're seeing health insurance premiums come tumbling down. First of all, you tried to repeal Obamacare. Multiple times. Multiple times with the people, with strong, with especially taking away parts of the law that provided for people with pre-existing conditions. Like, that's pretty much what you would try to do. So, like, that's full of baloney. It's again, Glenn Kessler and PolitiFact, they were doing this, checking through, and he was like, Glenn Kessler especially, he had a great quote from this. It's like, there's not a single part of this statement that doesn't have, this entire article, that doesn't have a serious factual error, or just any factual error in it. Like, almost every single sentence has an error. So this is what we're doing right now. So dishonestly go Medicare for All. It would cost an astonishing $32.6 trillion in his first 10 years, he says. Oh, yeah, and by the way, he says it's going to cost $32.6 trillion, Trump does. Here's the thing. The other system costs $2 trillion more, so you really can't make that point. You're just throwing random adjectives in front of it. It was astonishing, $32.6 trillion during the first 10 years. Wait a minute here. Like, are we being real? Like, this is not the way it's supposed to be. So, yeah. I also made a solemn promise to a great seniors to protect Medicare. That's why I'm fighting so hard against Democrats' plan that would eviscerate Medicare. See, you're really fighting hard against it. Wow. And yeah, guess who's proposed, and under your administration too, guess who's proposed the most cuts against Medicare? Obviously, the Republicans. It's just like nothing that's going on. He literally just knows that he literally just knows that Medicare is like, it's a healthcare program. That's probably he literally said they're raiding Medicare to pay for socialism. Like, what he's trying to do is just whip around fear tactics, and for once it's not going to work, because his scare tactics and the GOP scare tactics that they're trying to push through are making no sense right now. So they're making no sense, and that's what happens when you try to talk policy as a person in the Republican Party, because you just can't win, because the policies, especially put forth by the progressives, like, they're pretty bulletproof. Like, it's pretty hard to get through them. So yeah, he says Democrats' plans threaten America's seniors. Democrats' plan means that after a life of hard work and sacrifice, seniors would be no longer able to depend on the benefits they were promised. By eliminating Medicare as a program for seniors and outlawing the ability of Americans to enroll